My name is Harriet Voss. I was born in 1844 in Claremont County, Ohio, on a farm carved from clay and rock. I am telling you this from the far end of a long life, and I want you to understand something before I say another word. I am not here to comfort you. I am here because I know what you are carrying. I know what it is going to cost you if you keep carrying it the way you are. I know because I carried the same thing for decades. I called it family loyalty. I called it protecting the people I loved. It was fear. Dressed in respectable clothing, walking to church every Sunday, keeping its mouth shut at the dinner table. Fear. And fear, when you let it run a family long enough, does not stay quiet. It moves through the children. It gets into the walls of a house and stays there long after everyone who built it is dead and buried. My mother's name was Clara. She kept a clean house, raised 5 children past infancy, sat with the sick, buried the dead, never complained. She also had a child almost no one knew about. I did not find out the truth until I was nearly 40 years old. Not because someone sat me down and told me. I found it the way you find most things in a family like ours, in pieces, in half sentences, in the way a room went quiet when certain names came close to the surface. His name was Daniel, born in 1839, 5 years before me, to a man my mother had known before she was married. A man who left when she told him. A man whose name she never said out loud again. She carried Daniel to term alone, handed him to a family in the next county, married my father the following year, had 5 more children, and never told a single one of us. I grew up knowing there was something tight in her, something behind her eyes that did not belong to the life she was living. I thought it was exhaustion. I thought it was the particular silence that certain women of that era wore like a second skin, because there was no other way to survive. I did not think it was a person. I was 39 when I first stood in front of Daniel and looked at my mother's jaw, my mother's hands, in the face of a man I had never been allowed to know. I had prepared myself for his anger. I thought he would want me to account for something, carry some portion of what our mother had done. I was ready for that. He was not angry. He sat across from me at a plain table in a room that smelled like wood smoke and old wool, and he said, "I always knew she was out there somewhere. I just never thought I would get to meet any of you." That is all he said, and I sat there thinking about 39 years. My mother getting up every morning, making biscuits, feeding the hogs, mending shirts, lying down next to my father who never knew, carrying this through every Christmas, every harvest, every funeral. This man, her firstborn son, 20 miles away. She never reached toward him once. I understood the logic of it. In 1839, in southern Ohio, a woman who had a child outside of marriage was ruined. Not a dramatic word, the actual word. She would lose her standing, her prospects, the life the world said she was supposed to want. I understood it. I still think it was wrong, and I think she knew it was wrong. I think that is exactly why she could never fully rest inside her own life. Closeness meant truth, and truth meant the whole thing coming undone. So she kept her distance. From Daniel. From all of us. She was protecting us. That is what she would have said. She was not protecting us. She was protecting herself. And those two things are not the same. When my mother died in the winter of 1878, she was 64 years old. She had been sick for 2 years, the slow kind of sick that gives you plenty of time to say what needs to be said. She died with Daniel's name still inside her. I found out the full truth 3 years later from an aunt who was herself dying. She told me the way you tell a story you have been holding too long, quickly, without framing, as if setting something heavy on the floor between us. What came to me afterward was not anger. I had expected anger. What came instead was something older and heavier. The grief of understanding that a person you loved spent her entire life alone with something she never let you help her carry. She was alone with it for 40 years. I was right there. I was her daughter. I would have tried to help her. She would have been less alone. She chose the secret over the closeness, and I think she paid for that every single day. I want to stop and speak to you directly, because I think some of you are doing this right now. Maybe not with a hidden child, maybe not with something as large and definite as that, but you are keeping something. You have given it a name that sounds responsible. You are protecting people. You are keeping the peace. You are waiting for the right moment, which keeps not arriving. You think the secret stays where you put it. It does not. You think you have built a wall around it and life goes on normally on the other side. But the wall takes everything. It takes your energy. It takes your ease. It takes the parts of you that could have been open, and it uses them to hold the wall up. And the people around you feel the wall, even when they cannot name it. Children feel it most of all. They do not know what you are hiding, but they know the shape of a door they are not allowed through, and they spend years pressing their ear against it, trying to understand why they are not let in, and what it says about them that they are not. Children cannot help that translation. When a parent keeps them at a distance, the child does not think, "My parent has good reasons." The child thinks, "There is something about me that makes me unworthy of the truth." I carried that for years, into my marriage, into my parenting, into every relationship I ever had. My mother never knew what that kitchen door cost me. My husband George was a decent man. We made a life together, raised children, buried one of them, our youngest daughter, and kept going the way you keep going. We did not talk about her after she died. We sat across from each other at dinner, passed the bread, talked about the fields and the weather and the children still living, and we carried our grief separately, in separate rooms inside ourselves, and we called that strength. It was not strength. It was 2 people alone inside a house they shared. When George died in 1904, I sat at his bedside and held his hand, and thought about all the years of kept silences, all the years I had decided he did not need to feel what I was feeling, all the years I had chosen the surface over the truth. And I thought, I do not know if this man knew me, not fully, not the way you can know a person if you let them. 31 years, and I had been behind a wall for most of it. You think keeping things inside is strength. I thought that too. I watched women who kept everything in, and I called it admirable. I thought the women who said the hard thing directly were weak, were burdens, were indulging themselves. I was wrong. They were just letting people in. There is a difference between strength and distance. I spent most of my life confusing them. Daniel died in 1891. I did not find out until 2 months after the fact. There was no one to think to tell me. I had a brother I did not know about until I was almost 40, and then I had him for 8 careful years of polite letters, and then he was gone. Before he died, he wrote me something I have never forgotten. He said that what he had always wondered, more than anything else, was not why she had given him up. He understood why she had given him up. What he had always wondered was why she had stayed gone. Why, in all those years, had she never tried to find him, never sent a letter, never tried to learn whether he was alive or well or happy? She had stayed gone not because she had to, but because coming back would have meant the truth, and the truth required a courage she could never find. He had made peace with the giving up. He had never made peace with the staying gone. I am 83 years old. Age does not soften regret. It makes it precise. You do not lie awake in your 80s thinking in general terms about the life you could have lived. You lie awake thinking about exact moments, exact kitchens, exact mornings, exact letters you held in your hands and never sent. I know exactly which moments I would go back to. I know exactly what I would say. I cannot go back. That is the thing about time no one tells you with enough force when you are young enough for it to change you. They tell you time is short, everyone says it, but you hear it as something that applies to other people at some distant point. You do not hear it as something that applies to you right now, today, in the life you are currently living. It applies to you right now, the person you are not saying the thing to, the door you are keeping closed, the truth you are carrying alone, the relationship you are holding at exactly the distance where it can function but never fully breathe. You are choosing right now. Every ordinary day you are choosing, and it will add up. My mother was a good woman. I have believed that every year of my life. She survived an impossible situation the best way she knew how, and I do not sit in easy judgment of her. But her goodness did not protect her from the cost of her silence, and yours will not protect you either. The people around you do not need your goodness. They need your presence. They need the truth of you, the door open, and they need it before it is too late. Because once it is too late, there is no correcting it. There is only the weight of everything you kept, and no one close enough anymore to help you set it down. That is the loneliness I want to warn you about. Not the loneliness of people being gone. The loneliness of never having fully arrived. Of moving through a long life with something essential kept back, and reaching the end of it with the kept back thing still in there, still heavy, and the realization that you spent decades protecting everyone from a truth that was never as dangerous as the carrying of it. The truth was always lighter. You just never gave it the chance to prove that. My name is Harriet Voss, born 1844, Claremont County, Ohio. Daughter of a woman who kept a secret for 40 years. A woman who spent most of her life following that example without knowing it. I am telling you this because you still have time. She did not think she had a choice. You do. Use it.